been one of the tightest seasons we've seen in a while on Wednesday nights. Rachel Hunt led the charge early, and besides faltering briefly in the dirt at Eldora, she stayed astonishingly consistent. She holds the most top tens of any driver this season. However, in comparison, Holly's speed has been his saving grace by being the only driver to have earned multiple wins in 2020. They are split by only 13 points, but the ball is in Holly's court. Can he seal up another, or will Rachel become the first woman crowned a season champion on our channel? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 10 of the PRL NASCAR Truck Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Adam Lindgren. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Auto Club Speedway acts as the battleground tonight. It's fast, it's wide, and it likely won't take any prisoners. Let's find out a little bit more about this West Coast speed haven with our track guide.
Located in sunny California, a little bit to the east of Los Angeles, lies the Auto Club Speedway. This 2-mile D-shaped oval constructed on the site of a former steel mill in 1995 by Roger Penske and opened to the racing world in 1996. Auto Club plays host to regular NASCAR action every year in the spring, but has also played host to IndyCar several times in its past, including a closed track speed record of 241.428 miles per hour set by Gilles de Ferran in October of 2000. Auto Club draws a lot of similarities to the Michigan International Speedway as the tracks are sister versions of each other. Michigan has the more banking, but Auto Club is wider. Speaking of wide open is the name of the game for Auto Club, as the track's 14 degrees of banking that awaits the drivers in the corner really lends for some great racing. It is not surprising to see them 3, maybe even 4 wide in the corners here. Auto Club is notorious for chewing up tires, so as the driver you have to make sure that your car goes fast, but then you also have to make sure that you can keep the tires on it. Auto Club also has not been repaved since the track opened, leaving the track surface to become very bumpy, especially on the back stretch and down the front stretch. All in all, Auto Club is a staple of every series that comes there. Drivers love the place, fans love to watch races at this place. Put it all together, and you have a recipe for surefire success. This has been our guide to the Auto Club Speedway. Enjoy the show.
West Coast, where the sun sets off into the Pacific. Appropriately, the sun will set on the championship for this season, Adam. But before we get to that, why don't we talk about this track itself?
Definitely, Joe. Auto Club Speedway is special, and not because it's 2 miles or 3 kilometers long, not because it's only got 14 degrees in the corner, not because the front straight is banked almost as much as the corners at 11 degrees. No, Auto Club is special because it's wide, 75 feet wide with a 15-foot raceable apron kind of wide. Add to that the fact that the front straight alone is longer than Bristol as a whole, and that the backstretch is almost as long, and you've got yourself a recipe for some crazy passing. We're talking restarts going 4 or 5 wide, not just on the run up to the corners, but through the corners as well. That being said, the previously mentioned flatness of this course will create increased tire wear, and with the fixed setups PRL has here, all of the drivers will be fighting the same handling struggles tonight. Add to that fact that, unlike last week, Auto Club is not progressively banked, and things could get spicy with some dive bombs and fascinating pit strategy later in the race. All in all, though, what a great place to host the finale of such a memorable season, Joe.
I'm looking forward to see how this all plays out. I'm probably just as excited as the fans and drivers, which, if you are a fan of this sort of oval racing, maybe you should check out Diecast Kings. Shop Diecast Kings, your home for the best selection of NHRA, NASCAR, and now introducing IndyCar diecast cars at diecastkings.com. Big thanks to them for sponsoring this series here in the PRL trucks. Now, that championship, we keep talking about it. Let's give you the exact picture of where that sits in the Drivers' Championship. Rachel Hunt has led much of the season just because, like I said, very consistent out there. But Bradley Hawley, 13 points ahead now, 3 wins on his tally compared to Rachel Hunt's 1. But she does have 7 top 10s compared to his 6, which is where she makes up those points. Thomas Sink still in the background, a bit of a dark horse, still possible. Dominic Begin, probably not going to happen, though I do believe mathematically it may be possible for him to tie. I don't think that he can manage to take this championship, or at least it'll be highly unlikely. Clement is now out of the running. So really our focus is on Hawley and Hunt for the most part and how this all plays out. There are drop points in play as well. Rachel Hunt has them, Hawley does not. Let's take a look, though, at the team's championship, though, Adam.
Yeah, definitely things are just about as close to the team's championship, but it's Whataback that's going to hold that trophy. It just depends on which Whataback team it is. Ramrod, which is Holly's team, is currently in the lead with 569 points, 15 points over Whataback Back Row Racing. So if Whataback Back Row can get a good consistent finish here and Holly have some trouble, Whataback Back Row's Thomas Sink's team. So if Thomas Sink can get another good finish and hope for some bad luck for Holly, they might be able to leap Whataback Ramrod in the standings. Riding Shotgun, who was leading most of this season, has dropped to 64 points back and is mathematically incapable of winning tonight, with Rescue Racing Paw Patrol and Backroad Bandit Racing making their first jump onto the standings, but they're mathematically out of it as well.
Now, let's give you the rundown of this race itself while we're at it so that you can understand what the playing field is like. As we mentioned, we are in the finale. Now, it's 55 laps that they'll be racing, but they are limited to 60 minutes, and that has been a talking point in this series for many races because they have run up against that 60-minute limit before if they get a lot of cautions, which being here at Auto Club, that's a possibility. It is a fixed setup. There is no fast repair. If you damage the car, well, with as fast as this track is, that could be a night over for the most part in hopes of a good finish. They also have an incident limit, so you will be disqualified after 24 of them. You will completely disappear from the track. And why don't we take a glance at the temperature while we got an opportunity. You can see the sun going down out here, though it shouldn't be completely down by the end of this race. But 81 degrees Fahrenheit on the track surface. Not too bad, and very, very little wind as well here, Adam.
Yeah, it's just about an hour and a half after the real-life sun is setting here in California. So, yeah, 81-degree track temp, 78-degree air temp. That means the track's not that much warmer than the air, which is great news for our drivers. It means they're not going to have too much loss of grip, which is great for that right front tire, which is going to have a serious workout today.
So, as we wait for the warm-up to finish, I got an interesting stat here as well. And, you might think, well, Hunt might slip into the championship with just some luck or whatever. No, she has earned this because she and Holly have the same amount of bonus points even. That's how tight it's been out there and how good both of them have been racing. 15 each on those bonus points that they've earned this season. You can get them through pole and through clean racing and through fastest laps and various methods like that. So I tip my hat to both of them. This has just been phenomenal to watch this battle between them going back and forth all season, Adam.
Yeah, it's been a great battle. It's been awesome to see Rachel Hunt take the fight to Holly, who's been dominant, not just here in the Truck Series, but also in the PRL NASCAR Cup Series that happens on Sunday evenings. Very dominant there as well. So it's awesome to see such strong competitors, someone rise to the fore and really take a challenge to the reigning domination that Bradley Holly's had in PRL.
You can see qualifying has now started, and they get 2 laps to try and set their fastest time in these 5 minutes they're given in the qualifying. Looks like we've got at least Jake Houndshell out there, and that is Todd Smith that we saw on screen too, working his way down the backstretch now. Getting ready to start his first flying lap. And you've got an interesting note on some of the stats on the length of the races so far this season, Adam. I actually wasn't aware of this.
Yeah, based upon what I've noticed over the last couple races, I believe that 6 out of the 9 races this season have gone the full lap distance. which is everything but those first 3 races where we really struggled with cautions. And that's quite a change of tune over last season, Joe, if that's the case. I'm gonna have to double check my numbers there, but that would be quite a big difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially because there was some concern earlier in the season about the cleanliness of the racing, but it's been fantastic ever since the latter half of the season as we watch Josue Tellez also coming around in that number 24. Todd Smith is going to be our first one to set a time, which looks like is a 42-1 as he comes down back into turn 1. Jake Hounshell also getting one down at a 42-2, and they start to slot into order as our timing sheets fill up.
Yeah, this track is really deceptively difficult because of that lack of progressive banking. It's very hard to hit your lines correctly. If you don't let off the gas at the right point, if you don't roll into the corner at the right point and get down to that apron, you're going to lose a lot of time to the corner just by missing the apex by a couple of feet because this corner is so long. These turns are so long. So that's what we're going to see. Jared Mogard coming across for his first flying lap, and he's got a 42.216. So that's actually quite a good lap with Colton Lane starting his flying lap, but these drivers really have to be precise here in qualifying.
Interesting that nobody has managed to top Todd Smith yet, who didn't improve on his second lap. Bajin, as he comes across, he takes the pole away. And there is about a half a tenth between himself and Smith right now. Still a lot of cars that we're waiting on. I did see that Hawley is out and actually just started his first timed lap, because we've seen him start in the back from time to time, and I wondered if he was going to do that this time or if he felt confident enough to try to stick it up on the front couple rows.
Yeah, and Joe, unfortunately for Rachel Hunt, she just finished her timed laps, and she's already back in 5th. This is before half the field is qualified, so this is not as strong a track as the last couple have been for her. So that's going to be something that's affecting her points championship, as you see Brett Adams take a very adventurous approach to his second time out.
Yeah, Brett coming back around, but I'm watching Hawley, who's just coming across the line right now. It's a 42.180, and that's going to put him up into 5th. That is only 2 positions ahead of Hunt, who has now been bumped to 7th, with both he and Haynes going quicker. So we watch Daniel Knight now, the riding shotgun driver, across the line, his best at a 42.151.
Yeah, so Knight going up to P3 there. Yeah. Paul Williams, though, coming across for his first time lap. Adam Shane coming across for his second time lap. These second times are not necessarily going that much faster, but there we see Adam Shane kicking me in the teeth there with putting 2/10 on the board. So, yeah, Charles Sumner also putting 2/10 on the board for him. So we're seeing a lot of shuffling right now. That's putting Rachel Hunt down to 11th place. Bradley Hawley is up to 3rd on his second lap. So impressive improvement from him.
And all this talk about the championship leaders, let's not forget there's a pole position here, and Jared Mogard has it now. He goes quicker than Bajin by 22 thousandths of a second. Looking to see who else we're waiting on to finish up their qualifying. I see Mike Richter has yet to get out, but he doesn't have enough time to complete a lap. We're watching Sumner come on in. I believe Paul Williams.
Brendan Chatley, I don't think he might make it here. And he does make it. And a 42.192. Yeah, good time in that last couple seconds of the round.
All right, well, that completes our qualifying. Let's go through the starting order. Jared Mogard is on the pole with Dominic Bajin to his outside. Championship hopeful Bradley Hawley starts in 3rd ahead of his rival with Daniel Knight in 4th. Then you've got Todd Smith in P5 with Jake Hounshell in 6th position. Brennan Chatley starts 7th, and Colton Lane in P8. Nick Hunter starts 9th, and Thomas Sink, who's 3rd in the points, could potentially maybe take the championship, depending. Will round out your top 10.
Rob Haynes starts off P11. Alongside him is Rachel Hunt, 2nd place in the points, but not a great starting position, 12 off the lead, with John LaBaff starting in 13th position. Then we have Charles Sumner starting off 14th, with Adam Zemke lining up 15th. Blaine Adams is going to start for the 16th position alongside Jake Hounshell in 17th, with Josue Tellez in 18th position. And we have Brett Adams and Adam Shane rounding out your top 20.
All right. So really, even though he does have the lead in the points by 13, Bradley Hawley does need a decent finish because, again, no drop points for Bradley compared to Hunt and Sink, both having a few. So they are able to still score if they have a bad night. And both of them have more drop points than the gap to Hawley. Now, looking through, we've got 28 drivers. I'll have to check on the rules to see how many 28th points, how many points 28th place will give you for these drivers. You can see the back of the field decided not to qualify for the most part. Callahan, Richter, Hotham, Hunter, Bash, Holden, and Hilton will be starting at the back, but they could have good pace and could find themselves heading up the field. It all depends on how things go. 55 laps to try to decide things as they take off behind the Mustang pace car.
And unfortunately, nobody's going to get an EOL for too many incidents this race. Everything has been clean enough for the last couple of rounds, so we haven't really seen many of those, which is great news for the league and great news for those competitors that were worried about it earlier in the season. So everybody's safe to take their qualifying positions today.
Now this long, fast backstretch where they are going to get lined up here and get ready to take the green flag once they come out of 4. They're going to give the control to Jared Mogard in that double aught. He has been fast in times past. Same thing with Dominic Begin. He's won multiple races here on the channel since we've covered the truck series about a year ago, I want to say at this point. So both of them could be potential winners here today. Same thing with Daniel Knight back there as he's taken wins, has been very, very quick. Mustang pace car off of 4, heading down into the pit lane. Mogard waits. How soon is he going to go here? Looking for that green flag. It's a long wait for Mogard. Green flag is out. He starts to accelerate away. Behind him, a little bit of a checkup on the bottom line, actually, as they start to fall backward, and that includes Bradley Hawley. Already we're seeing the top 3 pull away just a little bit. Mogard on the low side. Begin up high into the number 17 of Knight, try to cover off the 184 of Hawley.
And he's doing it quite well. Jake Hounshell might even be able to get to the quarter panel of Hawley, and he does. So Daniel Knight sliding up to that high side. We noticed before the race started, these trucks were tight into the corner, loose off of the corner, but that battle for the lead. Jared Mogard and Dominic Begin still side by side and almost 3 wide behind them for second.
Begin taking it deep into turn 3.
Oh,
look at him wash up on the way out. Everybody behind him takes evasive action. Not seeing any incidents yet. Looks like everybody is heads up here. This means Todd Smith now moves into 3rd as Hawley takes 2nd place. Chatley slips into 4th.
Ooh, man. And Jared almost getting pushed out there again. Dominic Begin getting pushed out to the high side. He's not the top 3 wide back there, but these battles fourth position and 5th position, very tight between these drivers. Rachel Hunt there on the low side, looking to get by.
About 5 positions gained in the first lap there. Rachel Hunt did a great job keeping out of that mess that could have happened. So she's now up to 6th position. And meanwhile, up at the top, a challenge for the lead already from Bradley Hawley, taking this race by the scruff of the neck early and seeing if he can get the lead away from the double aught.
Well, the setup the way it is right now, the tires are going to fall off pretty quickly. So any sort of challenge he's going to get is going to have to happen at the early stages of these runs. So if he can get the lead right now, he can pretty much just walk away with this thing with the pace we've seen him have before. So you know that Jared Mogard's going to put up a fight against Bradley right now because it's the only chance he has of securing that lead before pit stops.
Nose to nose, coming down the backstretch and down into turn 3. Hawley on the low side has the shorter line, and it looks like that's going to work out as he finally takes that lead away. Mogard does get back in ahead of Todd Smith. Single file for them, although they fan out a little bit, each taking a slightly different line down the front stretch, but 2 wide racing doesn't exist until you get back to Lane and Hunter back there in 9th and 10th.
Yeah, Lane and Hunter are still going 2 wide. This setup is really making these guys struggle. It's John LaBath looking on as well to this battle. This setup is really, really on edge for these guys. Coming into the corner, they're not getting the turn that they want, and coming out of the corner, the thing wants to swap ends on them. So they can't go as in the 2 or 3 wides that I was talking about before the race. But it looks like Todd Smith is trying to make a pass on Thomas Sink. Well, the other way around at the 3rd.
And I think it's Shatley to his low side, it looks like, in the 59. So Smith up on the high side, still carries the momentum well off the corner, has an easier time than Machine did coming off that turn. They come back down into one, just behind them. That is Jake Hounshell, and actually a great run from Shatley is going to allow Shatley, to get ahead. So Jake Hounshell now battling for what is 5th position between himself and the 19.
Yeah, and Rachel Hunt looking on that low side as well. She's even decided to line up down there so she doesn't get beat up by Rob Haynes, who's also looking on this battle. But Rachel Hunt there on the low side looks like she got a little bit of a bobble there in the bottom of the corner, so that's forced Rob Haynes to go up to the high side now. And now they're too wide, too deep there for 4th position.
Boy, and Smith is not having a good time of things. This is looking more like short track racing, where the high line is getting a bit freight trained. He's going to fall back once again down into turn 1. Rachel Hunt might be able to sneak back up into this 6th place. Just behind them, giving watch, is Rob Haynes now, seeing if maybe he could gain 1 position.
Yeah, you can see Rob Haynes just there in the mirror of Rachel Hunt. They're just trying to look to the high side, get a good line into the corner. And yeah, Todd Smith is just having to give it up. And look, we have a pass for the lead again. Jared Mogard ahead of Bradley Holly up there. You can see it through the mirror of Rachel Hunt.
Wow, so Mogard's not going to sit down and take this from Bradley Holly. He doesn't care if he's fighting for a championship. He gets the lead back. Behind them, Thomas Sink giving watch. Sink putting himself in a good position potentially if something happens to those ahead of him in the points as we ride on the gearbox of the double lot. Looking back, great run off the corner, almost getting into his left rear quarter panel though, the 184. Certainly not afraid of any sort of net code out here right now.
And Jared Mogard knows that Bradley Holly has everything to lose in this race, so Jared just trying to hold his line, trying to get that win that he's looking for. He's up here in good track position. There's no reason not to battle for it right now.
This has really allowed Thomas Sink to close in quite a bit. The grammar Nazi in me really wants to correct Jared Mogard's rear bumper there.
Well, I mean, I'd stand with you behind that, but at the same time, look at the challenge. Look at the challenge he's putting on to Bradley Holly. Grammar aside, the dude's got speed, and he's going to go to looking for the low side into 3.
This is a great run for him, and that's a big checkup on the high side for the 184. Look at what this is causing behind them. Thomas Sink getting forced up to the high line by Jake Hounshell. And I think he might be able to get this pass done, as almost coming back together as Holly swings down to the low side to try and figure out where exactly the double lot wants to take the line. Back up to the high side, crossing the seams and getting it down low into the corner. Mogard defends successfully. Holly in 2nd. Hounshell into 3rd now as he managed to overtake Sink. But Thomas going to bump draft him down the backstretch as he really rocks up to that rear spoiler.
Yeah, and this kind of tire wear is going to really put the power into those drivers that really have a feather touch on the throttle pedal. You're going to see those drivers who are actually conserving stuff towards the back of this pack that we're not even talking about right now. They're going to be the ones who rise up as the cream of the crop if we keep having green flag runs here, because those tires are going to matter.
And Rachel Hunt got into 5th now. So is Rachel Hunt saving her tires a little bit more potentially than them by taking her time working up through the field? Wow, Jake Hounshell closed a lot through 1 and 2 on Bradley Holly. Let's see if he tries to make the move off the corner. He swings down low, down the backstretch. And the 94 rather, has got at least a nose in. Bradley gives him space as they come into turn 3. And even though we can see a little bit of an advantage in the first part of the corner for the 94 coming off, look at the 184 come back at him.
Yeah, Jake's not saving any tires right now. And Bradley Holly, I don't know if he's decided what his strategy is going to be right now. I think he thought it was to go up there to the front. Ever since Jared Mogard made that pass, he's been a little bit more passive. And he might just let Jake Hounshell go by and burn off his tires right now. But now he's got the threat of Thomas Sink behind him. Remember, Thomas Sink is on a different team. Look at this. Bradley Holly with the over-under onto the back.
I'd say that Bradley Holly knows what he's doing here. He let Hounshell take that P2, and then he's immediately got it back just about. He's got the low side now. Once again, Jake Hounshell a little bit deeper into the corner, but it's the corner exit seems to be making quite a bit of the difference. And Holly certainly has the edge there. Thomas Sink now looking to get back into things, wanting to find himself into third, especially before Rachel Hunt, who is just above him in the points, starts to get into the mix. She has caught up to the back of them.
Look at that, Jake Hanshaw going to the low side of Bradley Holly again. He's not going to let this go. These guys battling tooth and nail. This is the last race of the season. Why the heck not? Here they go down the back straight, side by side. Jake Hanshaw losing a little bit of time. He's going to have to fall in the line. But man, all these people, they're just getting, look at how long this back stretch is, how long the front stretch is. They get such a draft.
Is behind them. I think Chatley's going to get overtaken by Colton Lane. This is a nice run up from Colton Lane. Into 6th now, started in 8th position. In fact, Chatley's going to lose 2 because there is Rob Haynes below him.
Chatley getting a little bit freight trained here because Todd Smith's going to look below him as well. So yeah, that high side not working out for these drivers here later on in this run. The tire's starting to wear. We're getting a lot of front tire wear and a lot of rear tire wear. Front tire wear on entry, rear tire wear on exit. That's making these trucks really unhappy to drive on that outside line without any progressive banking.
Credit to Bradley Holly as we stay on this battle here, because a driver who might have been a little bit more timid would probably back out of all the fighting that he's getting from those around him, but he's been racing hard and very close to the others, not afraid to risk it, especially this early in the race.
Actually, I'd say that this is the least risky strategy that he could do. He's getting there back in the pack. If a wreck happens, it's going to be hard to avoid with the speeds that we have right now. We're going to get a lot of trucks in that wreck. So staying up here at the front towards the tip of the field, this is exactly where you want to be to try and avoid trouble.
That was Todd Smith we saw getting ahead of Chatley, who we were on board with. And they're starting to lose a little bit of touch to those ahead of them. Rob Haynes in P7, making sure he's got a buffer to those behind. So a little bit of a 7-truck breakaway rather at the front of the field.
Here's an interesting thought. You could hang out behind people and try and save a little bit of fuel, but there's enough of a draft for that to be pretty effective. But at the same time, if you're doing that and you don't have anyone to come in with for the pits, because of the amount of draft that we have on this track, you could lose up to half a second just by pitting and not having a draft partner out there on this track. So I guess it's kind of going to take to see which is the most beneficial strategy.
See the times of our leaders right now on the board. I was looking to check to see who our that was Houndshell, I think, getting into the wall. He's going to fall back in a bunch of positions down the front stretch.
Yeah, he definitely got it.
The 4th.
Yeah, he definitely got it. We're going to take a look at it here as Bradley Holly makes a pass for the lead on Jared Mogar. But Jake Houndshell here, look at him just slide straight up that corner. You see that he wasn't trying to put more wheel into it. He's feeling that the truck was getting loose, and he just was unable to hang on to it.
Just before that happened, I was trying to go over who our big climbers were, and well, Rachel Hunt by far has made up the most positions of anybody out there, from 12th now to 4th with her.
And I said this wasn't her strongest track, but I guess what I'm saying is, what I meant to say was that this wasn't her strongest qualifying track, because here she is, the racecraft alone, up in that 4th position, chasing down Thomas Sink and Bradley Holly, who are battling for a team's championship, while she and Bradley Holly are battling for the driver's championship. Yeah, we got the championship fights right here at the front of the field, and then the wild card, Jared Mogar.
Well, the cream rises to the top, I suppose, even here in the trucks. But here's what's interesting. We are getting close to halfway already, and we haven't had a caution yet. It's been hard racing, but there's not really been anything that's untowards enough to risk us for a yellow, just a few brushes with the wall.
Yeah, we're about 10 laps away from that halfway mark, and yeah, this is very interesting. We're definitely on track to see some green flag pit stops, so you know the drivers are thinking about it. California is a very, very dangerous pit road. The pit road is very angled inward because of how the layout of this track is, and so getting down to it can be very difficult, especially with how little banking they have here.
Heading down to 11th, we've got Dominic Bugine trying to recover down here. He's kind of on his lonesome right now in that number 66. Looks like he stopped the bleeding at least, but he's outside the top 10. Just ahead of him, side-by-side battle between Chatley and Jake Houndshell. Jake, the other one we saw, who brushed the wall the same way that Bajin did.
Chatley, he's trying to stop the bleeding as well as he comes into the corner on that high side. He's actually managed to find a little bit of pace up there, and Jake really struggling with the grip now that he's hit the wall. That aerodynamic damage is actually affecting him pretty negatively.
Looks like Chatley's going to manage to get ahead, so Jake falls back in line. It's looking like we're seeing a little bit more distinctive gaps between a lot of drivers. I think maybe everybody getting their own space to race now. As we ride on board with Houndshell. Looking up at the rear spoiler of Chatley.
Yeah, I'm seeing some interesting lines going on throughout the fields. I mean, people choosing different lines through the corners, some people choosing different braking zones, some people trying to diamond the corners. Everyone's trying to figure out how to get good race pace here as Bradley Holly's taking a look at Jared Mogart again for the lead.
I was noticing that myself. He had closed it into about 1/10 of a second and did run a lower line down through 1 and 2. As they come through 3 and 4, will we see a difference again? Yeah, maybe about half a lane down for him. So I'm not sure if he's experimenting or trying to get the air off or what's going on exactly.
I think he might be trying to juke out Mogart a little bit and try and get Mogart to do a defensive line, which will give Bradley a great opportunity to get some momentum for a pass. He's definitely not just hanging out behind the lead truck like we've seen him do in other races. This is a little bit different. This is a little bit more cagey, a little bit more competitor-like.
Falls back just a hair. Maybe about a car length between them now. As they come down the backstretch, they've dropped Thomas Sink, who currently rides in 3rd, Rachel Hunt in 4th. This is incredible stuff. We've got the top 3 in points within the top 4 positions right now out on the track. As they come to complete another lap.
I've been watching the battle between I've been watching John LaBath actually. He's falling through the field significantly, Joe. He's lost about 4 positions in the last 3 laps, and he's stuck on that high side and really not happy with his truck. I can definitely tell that something's not right for him. Either he doesn't like how it's handling, or he's just been stuck on that high side so long. He's got a lot of right tire heat. And you can see him weaving a little bit on that straight.
Yeah, I was noticing that myself, that it seemed like every time I looked over at our timing and scoring, it looked like he was being overtaken. Williams and Zemke, the 2 latest out there. Interesting to note as well, what happened to Daniel Knight? Is he maybe playing games with the tires too? Because he was a driver who started in 4th. He's now in 13th and doesn't look like he's really making any sort of effort to try and come up to the front.
Not entirely sure what's going on, whether or not he's not enjoying his time here. And we actually, it looks like, yeah, for the lead.
To the inside, the 184 of Holly has got the desired line over Jared Mogart. And they've done this a few times already this race. Let's see if they're going to swap around once again. Oh, wow. Is that the double lot getting loose off the corner there?
I think so. These trucks are getting looser and looser by the moment. It's being more and more difficult to drive these things. We see Jared Mogart. He's going to slip in behind Bradley Holly, maybe trying to over-under here off the corner. Let's see whether Bradley can hold it off.
Boy, he's carrying good speed off the turn, and he's going to duck down low, so that green and white machine has got a little bit of an edge down the back stretch. He is going to have the inside once they hit the corner. So is he going to be able to seal the deal? That's the question. This is bringing Sink back into it. He had dropped off, and indeed, there goes Jared Mogart off and back to the lead.
Bradley Holly's going to do the exact same thing that Mogart did, but the difference is this time Mogart's got him cleared, so Holly's going to have to follow behind, and now Sink right on the tail. He's going to be looking to that low side too.
Back behind them. I thought Haynes maybe was giving a challenge to Brennan Chatley, but that didn't work out. Chatley held on to 7th position. We watch now from above. 2 more laps, and we will be at the halfway marker in this race.
Yeah, this battle we're watching is between a bunch of guys who've been struggling. Oh, and they struggle even more. Cuts contact off the wall.
Let's take a look at that one more time. Boy, this has been a repeated story again and again. This time Todd Smith, and unfortunately he gets hit in the back by Chatley. I think Haynes got a piece of Chatley himself, judging by the damage on the rear of that red truck.
Yeah, I'm noticing a bunch of people. The tire fall off has happened. Oh, look at that damage that Todd Smith takes off the corner. It looks like he just couldn't get it down. Oh man, and just an accordion effect behind him. But a lot of truckers trying to struggle right now.
We come back live, and early call from Rachel Hunt as well as Colton Lane. Colton Lane actually beats her down into pit lane, though, with a better bit of braking.
This is fascinating. This could work if those two work together here. We're going to see what happens with how this works out, whether or not the undercut is worth it, and whether or not we get a caution before these guys can filter through the pit stops, because in which case it's not going to benefit them if they go a lap down.
And right now, our leaders are somewhat coming in. Bradley Hawley is in. So is Thomas Sink. So they are responding.
All right,
a few more.
The jig is up. This is going to be very interesting to see how this plays out. We still have quite a few truckers out there who have yet to pit. We're going to see whether or not Rachel Hunt and Colton Lane can gain their position back, or whether or not they make the pass on these guys through the undercut.
Well, Lane got out quite far ahead of Rachel Hunt. This must have been a slow stop for her. Maybe about half a second slower in her stall compared to Lane, so not sure what exactly happened. She's just ahead of Brennan Chatley right now, who rides in second. Where is Hawley? Hawley is just coming out of his service. He's past the cones. Go ahead.
And Todd Smith hit the wall again on exit. We don't have to go look at it, but he's struggling, continuing to struggle. If we're not careful, he's gonna be the caution.
All right, moment of truth. Is this going to give track position to Rachel Hunt? Hawley is on the backstretch.
I think she's too far back, Joe.
Lane is going to be decent. He's catching up to Thomas Sink, but he doesn't catch up to Bradley Hawley, who had a phenomenal in and out.
Well, here's the real trick. Jared Mogard, he's still in his pit box. He's leaving right now. As Bradley Hawley comes across the stripe, Jared is in turn one. I think Bradley's got him.
Oh, by a big margin. Look at this. My goodness. In fact, it looks like multiple cars are going to get by. Colton Lane, Thomas Sink already passed. Even Rachel Hunt looks like she might be able to get by on the backstretch. Yes, indeed.
And we talked about this last week. Bradley Hawley's proficiency on pit road, his entry and exit to pit road are something of legend around here at PRL, and that is exactly why, because of the amount of time you can make or lose in the pit road sequence. But we still have truckers who have not taken pit stops. 1st through 9th have yet to take them.
Crucially, Hawley is still on the lead lap. I see Callahan coming in. So we've got Chatley, Williams, Telez, both Adams, Smith, Hunter, all still waiting to come in. Shane also pits. So that's another of our riding shotgun drivers.
Man, but the pace that the truckers on new tires have over these truckers who have yet to take tires is significant in the corners. And we're talking lapping a good second faster per lap.
So maybe banking on a caution here.
Bradley Hawley, the fastest lap of the race at a 42.063.
And if he keeps that, again, another bonus point right there. Wonder if he's also thinking bonus points because of most laps led. That's 2 points right there, if he can get that. Maybe that's why he was fighting so hard with Mogard. Now, even though he leads those who have pitted, he's not leading the overall race right now. So these laps do not count towards, leading the race and towards most laps led. He needs the rest of the drivers to come in soon.
This is Paul Williams, who we're looking at. He's in second position just behind Brendan Chadley. Brendan really struggling. He's got some rear end damage from the accordion that he was caught up in. So he's struggling quite a bit right now on straight line speed.
So watch from on board Williams. Still waiting for 7 drivers to come down pit lane. Still no caution as the sun continues to set. In fact, let's see. Holly is on the front stretch. Hunter is on the back. Hunter is our last driver to have not pitted. Holly our first to have pitted, so he's not going to be catching them soon. But again, he is on the lead lap. First truck a lap down, I believe, is Nick Hunter, if I'm seeing correctly, in 19th.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, Nick Hunter is the first truck a lap down, and he's got 3 seconds up to Brendan Chadley.
Oh, and what happened to Austin Hunter? He just disappeared on my timing and scoring. Trying to figure out what happened to him. Okay, it's a connection issue. And he knew it too, because he apparently ducked down to the bottom on the backstretch. As our 2 leaders come onto the front stretch, and Williams gonna try and take the lead away from the 59. He's not gonna lead that lap, but he has the desired low line as they swing it into turn 1. And now he is fully ahead.
Yeah, Chatley's going to let him go, and I wouldn't be surprised if I saw Chatley pit this time. But at this point, he might be committed to the full fuel run, but they're losing a lot of time. Paul Williams' Brendan Chatley's last lap was a 43.9, whereas Bradley Holly's last lap was a 42.2. So they're losing a second and a half per lap.
Watching to see if Chatley ducks in, and nope, he is going to stay out. Still no takers among that front pack of drivers yet to pit. For those wondering about the championship situation, Holly rides in 8th, Hunt is down in 12th, and she is a distance back from that 184. She is watching it slip through her fingers right now.
Yeah, look at that delta there. Over a second and a half on that lap 31, and then it's 1.3 each lap following. And as we're watching, Nicholas Hunter is going to look to the low side on Paul Williams. This is the last truck on 1 lap down. He's going to pass himself and take himself out of that lucky dog equation, leaving John LaBaff, who is only about 2 seconds behind, to be the lucky dog.
Lap 37 now that they are on. Deep into the race, still without a caution, and with a decent variety here in the pit strategy, especially among some quick drivers. Williams, Chatley, those are 2 very fast heads out here, whereas Holly and Sink also incredibly quick, but they had much earlier stops. So we watch Callahan in a little bit of a fight for 17th position with Daniel Knight. We were wondering if he was saving tires, but it doesn't seem to be the case, because 77 running away from Daniel Knight. Not sure why he's lacking pace today.
Well, Daniel Knight's tires are 3 laps older, and with the tire wear and the speeds we're seeing today, that could be all the difference for Tristan Callahan making that pass right.
Well, I'd say it's safe to say that those top 7 have put all their eggs in the basket of hoping for a caution at this point, because if they come in and pit, it is going to be a dire situation. They will have lost so much time that really their only hope is just staying out until the tank is dry.
Yeah, Bradley Holly is 10 laps into his stint. He is 24 laps out of the lead. There's no way he's going to make up that time on track. So if they do get a caution, then at this point, I would think that all of these drivers who have taken pit stops would have to come in again, and that would benefit these top 7.
So And is Smith finally pitting? Here we go. Smith, one of those drivers, though, with quite a bit of damage on the rear of that truck. Remember, he hit the outside wall, then he got bumped into by others. This sort of play probably was his best hope of having any sort of chance at finishing decently in this race, because he can't get that damage fixed here under green stops. You can see how much there is back there. So he gets his 4 tires and should be back out, but he is a long ways down at this point.
So Paul Williams has gone by for another 2 laps. He's up to his 40th lap on this stint, and Bradley Hawley 21.5 seconds behind him at this point. So in fact, Paul Williams, go ahead, Joe.
Let's take a look at behind Bradley Hawley, because Thomas Sink is being chased by Colton Lane and Jared Mogard. Actually, I just noticed that Mogard was challenging Lane to the outside. I was so focused on what was happening ahead as Mogard tries to duck to the low side. Wow, odd line coming off the corner from the number 60. They managed to do it without running into one another, though, so the double aught as our leaders are now pitting.
Yep, everybody but Austin Hunter has come in, so the game is up for them. Austin Hunter's going to try and give it one more lap, try and give it one more shot as we're watching these guys battle.
I can tell you that Bradley Hawley is getting by them with ease. Let's stay on this to see what happens here for podium positions out here. Sink, who, despite being 3rd in the points, has not won yet this season. I'm sure if he can't take the championship, would at least like to get one trophy in his case.
Sink looking back at Mogard and Lane, who ducks to that low side. Mogard looking like he's trying to attempt a late apex here. That's going to lose him a little bit of time to Colton Lane, who's right behind him. And these guys, they've been battling with Sink, but Sink has had the measure of them this entire stint. And Austin Hunter, our final trucker to take a pit stop, has come to pit lane, so he will relinquish the lead to Bradley Hawley.
Hawley back up to the front. Sink about 2.5 seconds back in this fight with Mogard and Lane in 3rd and 4th behind him. Rachel Hunt, unfortunately, 4 seconds behind Bradley Hawley. This is not going to do it, obviously. If it stays how it is, then Hawley will be your champion once again.
Yeah, Rachel being chased down by Charles Sumner. She is one of those drivers who is hoping for a caution. Her championship hopes are contingent on there being a caution and a little bit of chaos to help bring her closer to Hawley. But at this point, Bradley Hawley in the lead, all alone, 2.5 second gap back to 2nd. I mean, the man is on a tear.
Well, we've got an opportunity. Was also trying to quickly see if we've got anybody who's making big inroads. And I think Tristan Callahan, who did not qualify, has gone from 22nd to 10th at the moment. He actually is looking to try and close in on Zemke and Hounshell, both of them battling for position. Hounshell, another one who's gained a lot. He's gone from 17th to 8th. That might, of course, go down to 9th here, depending on what the 21 has in mind for him.
Yeah, Tristan Callahan's done a great job. Another driver that's made a great climb is J.R. Bash, who's gone from 26th to 14th. J.R. in that 14th position behind the struggling John LaBath. J.R., a great climb for him as well.
Trying to give a little bit of love here to some of the mid-pack, because there have been some good battles back here. It's just, well, with the championship on the line and all of our championship contenders being up there at the front, we've been giving a lot of heed to that battle for the top 5. Meanwhile, let's head just outside of the top 5, because in 6, Charles Sumner has now gotten to the back of Rachel Hunt, and there's only 0.2 between them.
Yeah, Sumner doing an excellent job just staying with Hunt. And because you can see that Hunt is gaining on Colton Lane, Jared Mogard, and Thomas Sink as they continue to battle for that 2nd position. And Bradley Hawley continues to pull away. He's gained another 2 seconds since we last talked about him. That was Thomas Sink you saw there in the distance, pulling down to that low line. Charles Sumner just hang on to the back of them and probably waiting until they get to the back of those three before trying to make a move on Rachel Hunt.
So as we switch back to those three trying to settle out second, third, and fourth, it's still Sink ahead of Mogard, ahead of Lane. Small differences between them. Oh, and Callahan has gotten by Zemke while we weren't looking. We were wondering about his climb. He's got another one, although he's still working on it. Looks like he might have this done down into turn one. Yes, indeed. The 77 has now got ninth.
Yeah, Zemke's not going to fight that. He's not really in a good position to. Tristan Callahan, he's shown some really great pace this whole season. Hasn't had the consistency that some of the other drivers have, but I could see him being a great contender for a championship, and especially up there in the top fives towards the, once we start getting into these next seasons.
Now here's a question. We've had those drivers who waited a long time to come in, and they're running relatively faster laps than those around them. So they might be making gains even though they had losses before. Paul Williams is the highest of those, currently sitting in 13th and gobbling up trucks.
Yeah, he's got about 0.8 of a lap of pace ahead of the drivers who are around him. He's in the 42.5s, whereas a lot of the drivers around him are in the low 43s. So Paul Williams showing that those tires can do some good, but he's running out of time. We're down below 10 laps to go, Joe.
You're absolutely right. And in fact, it is now down to 8 laps to go left in the first season of 2020 here for the PRL Truck Series. And right now, Bradley Hawley is leading, looking for his 4th victory and another championship. Lord knows how many he's racked up now. I'd have to go back and check to see exactly how many this is.
Yeah, and Joe, this is a great time to talk about the year-long championship that PRL is doing. This is where all of the champions from all of the PRL series are, from each of the seasons during the year, are entered into a standalone championship that they do towards the end of the year on points during their final season. And each of them will be competing for the PRL Champion of the Year award. And that's a cool competition that they can get their hands on. So as we're watching these battles on track, Bradley Hawley possibly on his way to taking his first steps towards that award.
No reason to keep coming back season after season to see if you can be the best over the long haul. So we continue to ride on board with Mogard here, looking at Thomas Sink. Sink is about 3 seconds, just shy of 3 seconds back from Hawley. Oh, and when did Hunt catch Colton Lane here?
I think it was actually the other way around. Colton Lane fell off the back of those two who were battling ahead, and he's now been caught up into the grasp of Hunt and Sumner as Hunt dives down to the low side through.
Oh, but she backs out of it big time. Did not feel comfortable with how that truck handled down in 1 and 2. So that was a failed attempt. Interestingly, Sumner doesn't try and squeeze a position out of her in that Tropicana car. So he'll stay back in 6. Wonder if he's waiting to see how this plays out.
Well, with the way these trucks have been handling, if he went to that high side, Rachel would just wash out into him, and they'd both get damaged, and that'd be the caution. Charles Sumner just playing it smart here. Man, it looks like they're really struggling with grip off of the corners right now.
So even if the championship is getting away from Rachel, maybe she can at least still salvage a podium before all is said and done. She's got a few laps to do it with 5 to go.
Yeah, she's trying to get something done here, trying to make some work happen. And this is Jared Mogard and Thomas Sink who are battling with one another. They're trying, Thomas Sink looks like he's struggling significantly with the looseness of the truck off the corner, as Jared Mogard seems to be hounding him a little bit. Take a look at this. Sink will usually take a very odd line through here, but look at this. He's actually just going to put the bumper to Mogard as they go down the front straight. He's going to actually block him up to the high side. Interesting move from Thomas Sink going into 1.
Still, he's not able to get by. Mogard is putting a lot of pressure on Thomas Sink.
And Rachel Hunt's making a move on Colton Lane in the background, actually. Rachel Hunt down to the low side of Colton Lane. Charles Sumner is going to take this opportunity to go to the high side and give a push to Colton Lane on that high side. But we know the high side's not preferred right now, so Rachel Hunt is going to try and stick it down there on the low side.
At the same time this is happening, Mogart's finally got past Sink, and actually it was very, very close between them when he did the crossover. Hunt isn't quite completely past Lane. She's still slightly below, but if she sends it in deep into turn 1, she could have this done. We saw on screen there was a little bit of a look to the inside from Sink to try and get it back from Mogart, and Mogart's going to come back on the high side as this group now has Rachel Hunt in 4th, Sumner in 5th, and Lane in 6th. Still side by side here on screen between Mogart and Sink for 2nd and 3rd place. Sink on the low side, sending it in very fast into turn 3, but can he get it off the corner quickly?
This is the easier corner to get it off, and he really timed that well. Look at that truck control. Thomas Sink doing a great job there.
It's not over for Rachel Hunt. Charles Sumner decides to pounce now. That number 98 has got the inside of Rachel Hunt. Gonna demote her back down to 5th potentially here. Swinging it in from the very high side, and that 16 starts to lose ground as it's the longer way around this track. In fact, Colton Lane could maybe have something to say about it. No, he backs out. We are down to 2 to go at this point, and it's going to be white flag this time by for Bradley Hawley.
Yeah, Bradley coming off of 3 and 4. This guy has been impressive today, and it was that pit entry and exit that really did it for him. Taking the white flag now, Bradley Hawley, one more lap to championship victory.
Looks like Sink's ahead of Mogard for the moment. Sumner ahead of Hunt. Lane stays behind. Watch this battle for 4th, and Hunt really wants something out of this, but can't quite get it from Charles Sumner in that number 98. She'll get one more shot here around 3 and 4, but I'm not sure if we'll get to see it because the 184 of Bradley Hawley is coming around those corners himself. He is going to take the championship, another to add to his tally, and he'll do it here at Auto Club in the finale for the first season of 2020.
A great fish from him. Mogard unable to catch Sink, unfortunately, and looks like Charles Sumner is going to finish ahead of Rachel Hunt and Colton Lane. Rachel Hunt unable to get close enough to Bradley Hawley to finish ahead of him in the championship. What a finish today.
What a race. Not a single caution in those 55 laps. Got a bit of a battle between Blaine Adams and J.R. Bash. In fact, Blaine gets that in the last 2 corners to move himself into 15th. Bash almost overtaken by Shane in the process. I think that should be just about everybody here. As the last of the cars come to the line, Hawley is going to get to celebrate not only a victory, but a championship as we see him take it down to victory lane. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. Stick around and watch him burn it down as we take a short break and show you all the upcoming races here on GSRC. Welcome back to Auto Club Speedway, the finale for PRL Season 1 of 2020. And the Truck Series was won not only by Bradley Hawley in the race, but for the championship. 4 victories this season did it for him, with Thomas Sink coming home second in the race today. We'll have to see if he's managed to overtake Rachel in the points with that finish. Jared Mogard completed the podium, even though he started on the pole. So a little bit bittersweet there for him. Charles Sumner was 4th, just beating Rachel Hunt to the line. Those two had a great fight there at the end. Hunt with a top 5 to wrap things out. 8 top 10s in the 10 rounds. That is a good result for her. Colton Lane was 6th, with Tristan Callahan finishing 7th from that 22nd starting position. Again, though, he did not qualify, so depending on who you are, that could be a hard charge, it could not. Adam Zemke finished in 8th, with Rob Haynes finishing 9th, and then Jason Hounshell rounded out the top 10.
Paul Williams is going to finish in 11th, a fantastic recovery from his position and him hitting latest. Daniel Knight's going to finish 12th, with Nicholas Hunter finishing in 13th place. Brendan Chatley's going to finish 14th, with Blaine Adams right behind him in 15th. J.R. Bash, a good drive for him, finishing in the 16th position with Adam Shane in 17th. Josue Telez climbs his way back up to 18th, with Brett Adams, after contact with the wall, finishing in 19th place. After him is John LaBaff, rounding out your top 20.
21st went to Barron Hilton, with Todd Smith in 22nd. This is all still drivers on the lead lap, by the way. They managed to find their way back up there. Austin Hunter in 23rd, then Jake Hounshell in 24th. Mike Richter was 25th, and Craig Holden was 26th. 2 cars with problems. Dominic Vagine hitting the wall 2 laps down in 27th, and Brian Hotham 6 laps down in 28th. That's going to take us to our winner today. So let's talk to Bradley Hawley about another championship, another trophy on his wall. Bradley, you had to perform today. You couldn't rest on your laurels, and I'd say you came out with flying colors. How's it feel?
Pretty dang good. That whole race was fun. It was finally nice to have a green to checkered race that I was involved in for once.
That's a good point on that one. Now, speaking of which, though, you had some hard racing very early there with Mogard. It looked like you were kind of taking things very seriously, trying to get it seemed to us, maybe the bonus points for most laps led, or what caused you to fight that hard to try and get up to the very point?
I mean, I was trying to take care of my tires at the beginning. Try to save them for the last 10 laps of the run before I went in the pits, and every time I ended up getting a run on them, I was just like, yeah, let's go for the lead. Why not?
Why not? And speaking of those pit stops, too, we noticed you pitted only 1 lap after we saw Rachel Hunt come in. Was that intentional? Was that a response?
That was actually my plan. Lap 27 of 28 was the exact plan. Try to cut the race right in half and try to get the best pit entry and exit, and I feel like I did that perfect.
Oh, you definitely did. You came out way ahead of everybody else. Again, proving your prowess in that field. Again, congratulations both on the victory and the championship. Anybody you'd like to thank?
I would definitely like to thank North Star Title for sponsoring me, PRL for hosting these races every week, all our sponsors that we have for the PRL, and you guys for broadcasting week in and week out for us.
Well, thank you very much. That was Bradley Hawley, our winner, and once again crowned champion, as I believe Adam has caught up with second place finisher Thomas Sink.
Yeah, Thomas, you were looking in on that battle for the lead in that first stint, and then once the green flag pit stops happened, you were battling with Jared Mogard for the rest of the race. How hard were you fighting it out with Mogard there towards the
Not as hard as I probably should have.
Yeah, I'll bet it was a tough race for sure. And when you were climbing up there towards the lead during the first stint, were you trying to just kind of wait and see how things played out before the green flag pit stops, or did you want to get to the lead at that first stint?
No, my idea was just to kind of ride it out. We had a plan going into the race today. If it had gone green, what time we were going or what lap we were going to pit. And I noticed that lap was coming up, so I just kind of wanted to ride back and wait until after I pit, and I didn't want to give it away. So that way Mogar would go another lap and lose a bunch of time.
Well, coming home in the second position today is still a good result, and a good result for your team for sure. Is there anyone you want to thank today?
Yeah, thank Brad for sponsoring me with Stars and Stripes Realty and North Star Title, American Breadcrumb Company, Inline 309, all the guys at Wetterback that work hard to have these strategies and set up practice sessions. And then you guys, of course, for putting on a good show, and PRL for hosting it.
Well, thanks for talking to us again, Thomas, and we look forward to seeing more of you next season.
Sounds good. See you guys.
That was Thomas Sink, our second place finisher, and Joe Peak. It looks like you have Jared Mogart, our third place finisher, to talk.
Yes, and this was Jared's first pole of the season, but Jared, you weren't able to convert it into your first win of the season. It's still a podium. Does that help? Is that a consolation at all? Were you really hoping you could pull one over on Brad?
Uh, yeah, I mean, we hung with them and we were competitive tonight, and we actually were, people knew we were in the race tonight, so we'll take it. Good way to end season one here, and just trying to build some momentum going into season two and the rest of the year. You know, just hit the pole was good, and we ran up on right with him. He must have nailed the pit stop pretty good because he gained about 3 seconds on us there. So he just had a little bit better strategy than us tonight.
Yeah, points wise, obviously this isn't the greatest of seasons for you, but you talked about carrying momentum over to the next one. Do you think at all about the year long championship that they've now implemented into this series? Is that maybe a bit of a goal for yours then?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we plan on running here all season long, so to be in the overall playoffs and contention for the overall championship this year is good. So I think there's bonus points for finishing in the top five too to go toward the playoffs. So it's a good consolation players to get some playoff points because I don't think we got any this season. This was the first one, so like I said, it felt good running top five, running the lead, run for the lead, and get some TV time that involved being wrecked.
Obviously, everybody always likes that spotlight to be on them. Now, obviously, next season we're waiting for the schedule to come out. Is there any tracks in particular that you're crossing your fingers show up?
No, just hopefully tracks that you have to save the tires and stuff, and hopefully not a lot of short tracks. I'm not a big fan of short tracks, but just a bunch of tracks where you got to save the tires would be great. But we'll deal with whatever we get for season.
Well, be glad that Adam's not deciding the schedule because he's suggesting Detroit here in the background. So, but again, congratulations on a podium, Jared. Hopefully, I have not become too much of an English teacher for you if you go back and watch the broadcast. But we'll definitely send you some school books or something just to help out with your paint. We'll talk to you another time.
Yeah, no, that's spelled wrong. We'll get that fixed. I just gotta think. Dirt Race Central, iBuyPower Computers, Future Race Reports, Splash Go Graphics, and all the boys at MOSRN for sticking with us. And thank you guys for the broadcast. And
Well, thank you to Jared for all of that. And also, one last person we're going to talk to, Charles Sumner, who had a good fourth place finish. Adam has caught up with him.
Yeah, Charles, a good fourth place finish and a great finish for the series. What were your thoughts on that race and on this season as a whole?
Well, season as a whole, I mean, as anybody who's kind of watched it, we had our peaks and valleys for sure. But the biggest reason I want to jump in, other than shooting the crap with you guys, is give the league huge props for a great finale tonight, ending the season caution-free race and just letting everybody wheel it. That was a great job by everybody. I'm so proud of that, and we're having some really good momentum going into the next season in a couple weeks.
Definitely, yeah. The season started off a little bit rough, but then you guys have had a really good run of straight finishes that have not run up against the time limit, and some really exciting racing and great racecraft on the track. You got to be really thankful for the guys for running that well.
I really am. We were thinking early about setting a smaller field limit for next season, just to be totally honest. But the way we carried this momentum, it really, from a management side and an organizer side of things, it just brings the biggest smile to my face. Even, I mean, granted, I had a good race tonight. I'm so ecstatic that I got fourth with the talent that we had in this league. But just in general, just, everybody having fun tonight. There was some great battles going on too. And I think people too also adapting to the tire model, not over driving the trucks, and then really learning, how to battle properly. That's what made for some really entertaining runs here at the end of the season.
Speaking of an entertaining run, you were up there in the thick of it with some of the biggest wigs in this league. How was it racing up there with the likes of Rachel Hunt, Colton Lane towards the end of that race?
It was fun because I feel like maybe not week in and week out, but a decent amount of the tracks, I do have some decent long run speed. It was just, man, I had the bullseye on me in the beginning of the season. I just could not get by Rex. So to kind of end the season on a good note, not get caught up in anything and have some good runs, I'm really happy for that.
Well, Charles, once again, great finish and great season for PRL in general and for you as well. Anyone you want to thank before we let you go for the season?
Absolutely. First and foremost, thanks goes out to you guys, the GSRC week in and week out, professional, high quality. It's so great to be a part of the team with you guys and be able to put on the shows. I also want to give a special thanks to Bradley Holly and Brendan Chatley, my two organizers for the season, who really helped out when I needed the most. So much love to those guys. Also for Diecast Kings for being our sponsor and coming back again for next season. So that's very exciting as well. Just keeps the momentum going. We got a lot of positivity going on in the league and really excited for season 2 coming up in a couple weeks.
Well, Charles, great to talk to you, and we look forward to seeing you at the start of the next season.
Appreciate it. Catch you guys then.
That was Charles Sumner, our 4th place finisher and one of our series organizers for the PRL Truck Series. Joe?
Yeah, and that's going to actually close us out for the season. So we want to thank a few people ourselves before we go, starting, of course, with Diecast Kings. Again, if you want to check them out, you can find them at diecastkings.com. I know I've got the Indy cars up right now. I'm thinking of grabbing one of those now that I have the opportunity to. But thanks also go to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcast. You can see those listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get hold of more of her great work. And also thanks to the team today, Sean, Adam, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. Also, check out our social media on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global SimRacing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. Don't forget, head on over to our YouTube page and hit that big red subscribe button as well so that you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. We'll be back next season as we are already in talks with the series, but we have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard, see you on the track.